This week, we look at a sci-fi film with a plot involving a monster that actually makes sense. I am of course talking about Pacific Rim. Pacific Rim came out only last year in 2013, and the only reason why I know of it is because I won a competition from Bright Eyes Long Lashes, aka Leah Haver, to help her get to, I forget the number of subscribers it was. I think it was 1,500, 2,000, 2,500. Like I say, I've actually forgotten. And she sent me over a Blu-ray copy of Pacific Rim. And I have to say, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, like I say, most sci-fi monster films these years, or these days, don't have a plot. But Pacific Rim not only has a proper plot, but it's got clever special effects, clever action, and clever direction. And all round, this is a very clever sci-fi film, and one that I don't think many people expected to do as well as it did. Here's how the plot of Pacific Rim works. A monstrous, gigantic species known as the Kaiju start attacking in the Pacific, charging through Australia, America, plowing through as much as it can. In retaliation against this monstrous threat, everyone in the Pacific bands together to create the Jaegers, not quite robotics, giant robots the same size as the Kaiju, but the fighting capacity to fight against the Kaiju. And there are two pilots on board to share, because when you go into a Jaeger, you have to take on a lot of work mentally, so that's why there were two pilots, so they can share the mental load and why you won't die. As the Jaegers and the Kaijus start battling it out, and the Jaegers slowly winning, more and more powerful Kaiju start attacking. But as the film draws out, it slowly becomes apparent that these level Kaijus, which are quite strong, are actually only the beginning. There were bigger, more powerful Kaiju, which have come through to colonize Earth and destroy the human race. Realizing that, well, everyone is convinced that forget it. This plot is actually getting too complicated. I'm going to try and sum it up as it goes. Monsters attack, people fight back, more powerful monsters coming through, people decide to abandon the Jaegers and start to build a giant wall that fails. The main leader behind the Jaeger program, played by Idris Elba, recruits a former Jaeger pilot to help out in one last strike in Hong Kong against the Jaegers. Yeah, like I say, the plot is somewhat complicated and very hard to explain, but I gave it a good shot, didn't I? For any of you Sons of Anarchy fans out there, and to which I'm slowly becoming a fan because it's on Netflix, this film stars Charlie Hunnam and Ron Perlman, otherwise aka known as the son and stepfather duo Jax and Clay on SOA. They star in this film as two different roles. Charlie Hunnam plays Worley, I think it's Worley. His older brother died in a Jaeger Kaiju attack a few years ago, and now he's been helping to rebuild the wall, or actually build the wall to stop the Kaiju, until he's recruited by Idris Elba's character, Stacker Pentecost, to join the Jaeger program, and during this he meets Pentecost's adopted daughter Mako from Japan, who he's saved. This is a spoiler as a source. Who he's saved from a Kaiju attack that's killed all of Mako's family. Also along the way is an Australian rival, whose name I've also forgotten for some strange reason, and his father. I like Charlie Hunnam. He's a really good actor. His role in Sons of Anarchy is tremendous, and his role in Pacific Rim is quite determined and forceful. No one dares to go up against any of Idris Elba's characters, and Hunnam's character does. That's all I'm going to say. The other character from Sons of Anarchy, or actor, Ron Perlman, who plays a Hong Kong kaiju dealer who slowly becomes entangled in the whole plot as the final battle against the kaiju, and has a bit of, and was a more funny character, shall we say. He's got more comedic moments than serious, and the way that he is last shown in the film is quite funny. But yeah, as I say, the acting, I'm going a bit complicated with all this. To sum up, Charlie Hunnam, Ron Perlman, and Idris Elba, and the girl who plays Maka, whose name was forgotten again, all of them do a terrific job acting. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the review, Pacific Rim actually does have a valid plot. Most sci-fi monster films these days, with the exception of some remakes maybe, they're actually brain dead. They're more reserved as soulless, plotless action thrillers. Whereas Pacific Rim does really have a valid plot. It's a good idea of humans trying to stop forced colonization from an alien species. That is really a good plot line. If it's only a shame that other films could do it. I mean, why couldn't Roland Emmerich's 1988 film Godzilla follow it? Another good source is like the action sequences. Obviously, the only real action sequences are between the kaiju and the Jaeger, but the idea that two pilots can use like their attacking movements and use it and have it mentally fix in with the Jaeger. It's like, say, if someone was doing this, the Jaeger would do exactly this. And I really like. I mean, it's just like it's like almost like a martial arts film, except in larger things. Is all I can really say. I mean, that's just it. I mean, Pacific Rim is really a lot of fun. The direction is fun. The action, fun. I mean, I got my parents to watch this a few weeks ago. Actually, my family to watch this a few weeks ago, so my sister really wanted to see it. They really enjoyed it. Although my dad took a long time to figure out that the kaiju were the villains. He actually thought they were the bad guys at one point. Yeah. But, I guess, as I say, I mean, what can I say about this film? It's got fun everything. The acting is fun. I mean, Idris Elba's an acting god, as I can really say. Charlie Hunnam and Ron Perlman are perfect together, even though technically they don't really share any screen time in Pacific Rim. So in all, yeah, Pacific Rim really is a lot of fun. It's not one of those films you can just stick on if you have a spare time. You really should sit down, get your family together, have a film night. You really will enjoy Pacific Rim. It's energetic, it's fun, and it actually will give you your brain a purpose, unlike other sci-fi monster films, which just seem to want to shower you with action and all that. This film really is solid and valid. Seriously, guys. If you love Sons of Anarchy, if you love Idris Elba, if you love a sci-fi film with a good plot, this is the film for you. And one last thing. Next week, for the first time ever since I started Pricey Cinematic Critique, there will not be a review next week. Reason why? I am heading down to London to go to a convention and do some sightseeing, and I will really not have a chance to do a review. So for the first time since I started, as I say, there will be no review of Pricey's Cinematic Critique next week. Just giving you a heads up, guys, when I return, regular scheduling will be resumed.